Hi all, Sam here, lead teacher of ARC 201. This video I'm going to demonstrate how to start making a portfolio in Adobe Indesign. And we're going to begin by opening a file and jumping right into it. So here you can see my screen. I'm going to go File, New, Document. And it's going to pull up this document window, and I'm going to go over to Print. And we know the admissions requirements say that we can either have a letter or a tabloid. We can change that later. If you start getting into it and you want to change it, I'll show you how to change it later. But let's start with the letter and then go over these preset details. And you can type in a couple of things. Just start with the title. Best portfolio ever. The width in unit, it's set in picas. I don't know what picas are. I'm going to change that to inches. It's going to be more helpful to me. And we know we can either do portrait or landscape. I'll start with landscape. You want to make sure facing pages is checked. And we can just leave the amount of pages at 1. We can change that later. And go create. And now it opens up our page here. We've got our single page. The windows here I'm using, or tabs I'm using a lot, are layers and pages. The pages, this is showing an outline of this whole document. So if I wanted to add a bunch of pages, I know if I've got this letter, I can have up to 24. I go down to this Create New Page button, and I can just click, 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 keep clicking. You'll notice the first page started with one sheet. This is like your cover page. And then the next ones are these 2-page spreads. So it's kind of setting up a little bit of a book for you, where this is the cover, and then you open it and you've got your first spread. And if I don't like my page, I can delete, 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 delete. But let's start with just a little bit of a spread here. And then I can kind of see things happen. So if I add stuff to my page and I color it, you can see a little thumbnail sketch over here in this page's outline. Now, also you'll see there's up here, it says A master. This master, if you double click, now I'm viewing these master pages, and I can add things here that I want to see on every single page. So for example, you may want like the project title in the same spot everywhere. And so what I can do is go ahead and add a text box, so you can click the text. I can also just type T, and maybe I want my text box up here, and I'll call it project title. I don't like that font very much, so I want to change that font. I click into the text frame, and I'm going to increase the size a bit. 31, let's make it 24 for now. And you can spend way too much time figuring out what font you want. I'll just use Arial for now. And then I'll press Escape to get out of that text box. If I go to these corners of this box, I can actually manipulate this thing quite a bit just from the box here. So I'm at the corner where it's got the diagonal arrow. If I double click, it will tighten that box to just the content there in the box. Now, I say I want to decrease this size or increase the size of this font. If I without holding any keys down, I can change the box size. That's not what I want. I actually want to manipulate the whole thing. If I hold Command or if I hold Control on a PC, I can now manipulate the content in the box. But I want to do this in a proportional way. So if I hold Command Shift and now I start dragging the box, it's going to increase it proportionally. Maybe I just want to make it a little bit bigger. The other thing I know about these titles, I don't know exactly how long they're going to be, so I'm just going to make this box kind of long, just in case. And maybe I want a little bit of information underneath there. So when I hold Alt and I click and drag, it will copy it. It'll let me put it anywhere. If I hold Alt and Shift, it will essentially snap it to certain alignments. So it's snapping, if I just drag vertically, it snaps it, keeps it aligned vertically. I want this font to be a little bit different. I want it to be smaller and probably less bold. So I'll change this to just Arial. And I'll say class and quarter, just as a general. And maybe I want that font to be 16. So I'm here working in my template. Now if I wanted stuff to be aligned with all this, or aligned across from one page to the next on every page, I can pull my guides from that ruler. I could put them anywhere here and they will show up. You see, when I click out of my master, now as I make new pages, that info shows up on every page and I can edit it, and I'll show you how to edit it. But if I go back to my master, I can put guides anywhere I want. Maybe you want horizontal guides that set up maybe where you're going to put the text on every page, or where you're going to put some of those images. Notice it wasn't aligning. It's like hard to get it to align perfectly. So what you can do, if you hold Command and apostrophe, it'll turn on a grid for you, and this grid is aligned with the inches, with the units in this document. And then I can drag this, and when I hold Shift, you can see it's only going on the grid. So this is an easy way to get things aligned to specific measurements. Maybe I want this one to be right at 9 inches, and then I want the one on the other side to be right at 20 inches. And this is kind of hard to see, so I often turn the grid right back off after I've set that up. So there we are. Now I want to edit this to say a different title for the project. Maybe something, a more descriptive title that relates to that specific project. So if I hold, I think it's Command Shift, and I click, yep. So I can't actually change it, I can't select it, but when I hold Command Shift and click, now I can edit this. And so I'll say ascending, maybe this project I'm going to put on here is ascending to the darkness. Now you notice it's missing some of the font, or some of the text. If I go to that corner again and I double click, it's going to increase the size of this. Or I could do this and it's going to automatically go over to the next line. But there you are. Now I've got title and Command Shift. I can say this was an ARC 201, Winter 2021. Double click. Maybe I want this bit to be italic, so then I could go here, change that to italic. Now I want to start putting images in here. You should be familiar with this. You're placing images which then get linked to the actual file, which has a path somewhere on your hard drive, or if it's stored in the cloud, somewhere in the cloud. What I've done here is try to keep things organized. So I've got a folder with all my ARC 201 projects in it. I got project 1, project 2, and in there are just the images I know I'm going to use for this portfolio, various stuff. So I can just start dragging them and dropping them in here. Get a rendered section. And so I just plopped it down, but nothing showed up. So when I then click back into InDesign, now it's telling me, hey, where do you want to put this? Let's put it right there. And I'm going to crop this frame a little bit tighter to the image. And maybe this rendered section, I know hierarchically I want it to be the most important thing on the page, and I want to get it aligned with the edge of this title, the edge of the title there maybe. So I'm going to push it down, and I wanted to drop some other stuff in. Got a section, place that. Now if I drag and drop, and I accidentally drag and drop right into another frame, it will change that frame right away. So be sure when you're dragging and dropping and placing these images, you place in somewhere kind of in the white space. Okay, I've got a plan and section here. They are aligned. I hope. Make sure you get them aligned. Looks pretty good. Another way to do this would be to click on both these images and click over here in this properties column, click opacity. And I can change from normal blending mode to multiply, just like in Photoshop. Now I can do a better job of making sure that they are perfectly aligned. Yep. I know that's good. Now in the admissions portfolio, you don't necessarily have to keep things right at the same scale you did for your presentation board. So if you did these drawings at 1/4 inch, you don't have to keep them at 1/4 inch. But what you do need is a graphic scale to be able to communicate the relationships that we all know and understand about these documents. So if you go ahead and scale these drawings, you have to scale the graphic scale at the same time. So remember, if I hold Command and Shift, I keep them at the same proportion. And I can shrink them or expand them, whatever I want to do. Now if I want to just get a sense of what this page looks like without all these lines everywhere, without all this visual noise, I can hit W. Go back and forth hitting W. And that's going to show me what it looks like. And then you can do all your work just in this format, or you can go back so you can see these lines as you're working. And what else did we have? We had some perspectives. Let's see, so if I grab all three, you go plop, 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 and now they're all plop the same. And you might want to shrink them a little bit. I don't know exactly what's going to happen here. Oh, so the cool thing about InDesign, when I've got a couple of things in a row, it's going to help guide me. I want this gap to be the same as this gap. So when I move this over, there's going to be this moment right there where it kind of snapped, and you see those green arrows down there below. They're telling me that they're the same width. So I want to go snap, and now I know I've got them arranged nicely. So I want to go back to my layers. So I really just have everything on one layer, which is not the best practice. You want to start to organize things based on categories typically. So maybe I'll have one that's text, and then this one is images. And I've already changed all these, so I'll go ahead and if I click on them, if I select them, I can just drop them up into the next layer. I can hide that, show that. Now all the images are on one layer. if I were to take my rendered section and move it to the top, right now it's covering up that other stuff. So that can be annoying. And then over here on the links page, you'll notice that they're all listed here. And the magical thing about links is that if I go and change something about one of these files, but I don't change its location, InDesign will automatically update. So say I want to change something about my rendered section. Open it in Photoshop. This was just a screenshot. This is not an actual Photoshop file, but you can place Photoshop files right into InDesign and then work on them, update them. I think you already know this, but I think it's so cool. So maybe I want to, whatever, just like add something to it. And then I save the file. When I save the file, I go back to InDesign, and this thing wants to update. It's giving me a little warning sign here in the links. I can just click that warning sign, and it added the edits that I did. Of course, I don't want that. That's a crazy looking thing. So then I just deleted it, saved it again, go back to my InDesign file, and it updated it. Say I want to add some text. I might go ahead and just lock my images layer and then start to make, or I could actually just take this text box. I hold Alt and drag it over and copy it. And I could scale it down. Maybe this is going to be 12. I can write plan. Drag it over. I want this thing nicely aligned. Oops, that is my section. So I'll drag this up. Section. Text box is gone, but I go to the corner, double click. That's looking stupid. So I gotta fix that. Now I want it to align with the exact same spot up here. So one way you can, InDesign will give you all these different alignments as you're moving stuff around. So it'll kind of snap to it. And now I know that both plan and the section are right justified. They're both in the same spot on the right. Yeah, so that's how you'd start to set up this document. Say I wanted to change this page size. I'm like, ooh, I think I want things more spread out across this whole document. Go up to File, and you can go to Document Setup. So bring us back to this first dialog that we saw, and we can change. Okay, I actually want it tabloid, and maybe I want a portrait. Okay, now we're working with something totally different. Hit OK, and then you're back in working on stuff. All this kind of is now in a totally different spot. So I could go back to my pages, and I can move all these up. Maybe I want them up here. And then I go back to my master, and they've all been moved up. Maybe I want them right here in the middle. They're right there. I don't want that. That would be bad. Great. At some point, you're going to want to come back and put a some info on the title sheet, on the cover sheet. Sorry, cover sheet. So let me I can just grab both of these, hold Alt, and pull them up into my cover page. And start messing with my cover page. Write your name. I want to increase this size. A little small looking. So maybe I'll justify it to be exactly this. Ooh, weird. Be exactly the same. And then I want the year. You can play around with it, get it to your liking. You can grab all of them and make them go across the page. Who knows? Maybe you want it lower, maybe you want it higher. Play around. Now what if I want the whole background to be a color? I could go back to my layers, go to my images layer, which is lower, and then I can just add a frame. And I could fill it. And change the color here. Maybe I want to get to a gray. Whatever you want. Or you want to change the font color. I want this to be white. And then you start moving through, adding all your work, and then this is the best way to set up a template. So there you go. You've got a cover page, and then you've got a bunch of pages where you're adding all your work onto. And so that's the basics for setting up this portfolio in InDesign. If there are any additional questions or skills that you want to know for this portfolio, feel free to reach out, start a discussion on Canvas, ask your teachers, and we can demonstrate in class so that we get you all supported and prepared to put all your work together from ARC 201, ARC 200, and other past projects or works you've been working on over the past couple of years so that you can be proud of this document that you made. All right, that's it for the video demoing how to start your portfolio in InDesign, and good luck with the rest of the quarter.